Hey, welcome back, guys. And today we're going to install the timing chain and gears on our quad 4. So before we go on, I want to just show you this. And we have a factory gear, and I'm trying to get up close here, see if you can see that. I don't know if it'll focus on that or not. All right, there's very little signs of wear on that, and this gear has about 150,000 miles on it. That's a factory gear. Then if we look at this aftermarket one, and I don't know if you'll see this on the camera very well, but I can feel it right here. It's actually like there's like a barb of metal sticking out, and the reason is because even though this was only run for about 10 races, there's a ton of wear. I mean, a ton of wear. I could, if I really tried, if I pressed hard and pulled my finger, I might even cut my finger on that. It's so sharp. So the moral of this story is don't buy the cheap knockoff stuff. Buy the good stuff, the made in the USA stuff. We're actually going to be using the stock gear, the original equipment, because it's really shows no sign of no appreciable wear. So that's what we're going to do. No, I did get a new timing chain, and it's actually used one. It wasn't used very much, but it's a made in USA chain. I'll show you how to put that on in a second. But first thing we're going to do is get the gears on. Now, I've already got the motor in time, and that was pretty easy. If you're watching one of the last episodes, the motor where the key here on the crankshaft is, it was actually turned backwards 90 degrees. That's to keep the pistons down inside the bore, so that whenever put the cams in and rotate them in the time, that I know the valves aren't going to make contact with the piston. So after I got them in time, which all that consisted of was trying to get this pin lined up with the crankshaft, and by doing that, if you notice, there's the hole that the cam pin goes into. And if I slide this on there, try to get that on that pin, there's an 8mm bolt that goes here that locks the gear into place. Now these might turn just a little bit whenever you take this off, and I'll be checking that, because what we do is to make sure that this gear's in time and this gear's in time, we take an 8mm bolt and shove down through there, and that locks that gear into position. Okay, and there's a corresponding hole right here in the cover. The bolt goes through here and into here, and that locks the timing in place. And from there we can put on the rest of the timing set. Now I have a video on this. It's got over 50,000 views. I don't know who all is watching this stuff, but I don't even know what to say about it. But in any case, these are off a little bit, and all I did was just took a pry bar like this, and you just kind of pry on the gear, and you can rotate it in a position. I suppose you could probably put the bolt in it and use a ratchet to rotate it, but it was easy enough just to pry it into position. That was fine. So we're going to put our gears on. Now these bolts, these are only two bolts like this one and this one, and the whole motor. It's got a floating washer on it, and you always want to put some Loctite on these. Now I'm not going to do that just yet, because I'm not going to be torquing these down. Not just yet. I want to just get this in here. I'll try to do this a little bit quicker than the other video, and I'm going to put a link to that video in the description down below. That way, maybe if you want to take a look at it, you can. But I don't know. It felt a little silly actually doing two of these. I thought about just making a little video talking about how there's a link and all that, but we're just going to do it again, just in case I missed something last time. And you can see that's on there. It's just a little tiny bit loose, nothing crazy. It'll hold itself on there. And I may want to turn that with a ratchet just a little bit, just to make sure it's not too loose like this. I mean, it is just that tight, just enough where they're still. Now I'm going to look down inside here, and that one there's pretty close. This one here is right on, so I know I can put the bolt in that one. And this one over here is kind of close. So what we're going to do is eyeball that up. There we go. So I'll put this right here. Put my bolt in, and as I rotate this, that bolt should slide down in. Right there. That's what we're looking for. So now these gears are locked in place. These cannot turn as we're doing all the work up here. And at this point, I could actually rotate the crankshaft because I know this is in time. I know that the valves aren't going to contact the piston. Remember our episode with the water pump? There's the idler gear for the water pump. All right, so next order of business is to put the chain on, and I'm going to put this all on dry for right now. I am going to add some lubricate on there later, but I'll tell you this story real quick. Long time ago, I had an issue with the lifters, had a bad set of lifters. It was a brand new motor, but the lifters were bad. They were used lifters, they were bad. And so I had to pull this all apart, and I wanted to see if the timing chain was working. And so I actually started the motor with the timing cover off to see if anything was rattling around in here, and there was just oil spraying out everywhere. So I'm not really worried about the timing chain getting enough lubrication on startup, because as soon as that oil pump starts working, this is literally just spraying oil like mad out into the timing chain housing. So we're going to start at the top, slide that over our teeth. And on that other video, I actually got a lot of people who are putting different motors together. You know, they were sending me messages thanking me for the video. I guess it helped them too. So I don't know how building a quad 4 motor would help them, but I appreciate the message that they sent. That's all good. And you see we have a little bit of an issue here. The chain looks good here, but we have a little bit of an issue here. So what we want to try and do is we want to try and keep the tension in that chain. For instance, if I slide this back like that, now I have too much slack. So I need to go another tooth forward, but there just isn't enough room to do that. So we're going to just nudge this gear, and these will move just a little bit, and there it is. See, I fell on there, and it'll hold itself on. Okay. Now there's a guide that goes up here, but we don't have to worry about that just now. Not quite yet. All right. And this here, it doesn't matter if there's slack here, we're good. All right. There's the idler. And then we're going to bring it down. And I'm not worried about this side. What I'm looking at is this side over here. So I want to look, and this is a little bit too much slack on here. So what we have to do is we have to kind of back the motor up just a little bit, just a wee bit, just enough to get those teeth to engage. And there, is that enough? And I want to check my timing mark here. The keyway should be lined up with a little dot right here above the crankshaft. There's also a little dot right here on the crank gear. Eyeball that, and we're off just a little bit. And let's try this again. Now we're going to look at it, and we're pretty much on the money right there. All right, so we're looking good. So this is where I want this. All right, I want to keep this on here. Again, it doesn't matter if there's slack on this side, because this idler will, you know, let me take up the slack. I want to hold up on this. I'm going to take our tensioner, slide it into position. Slide it right in there. That's it, just like so. And again, there'll be plenty of slack here. I'm not worried about that. Even on this side of the crank gear, that's okay. That's normal. And then we're going to take our 2 bolts for the tensioner. Goes in. And we're going to tighten these up real quick. I think think I can get them with my fingers. That might be a little bit quicker with this. I don't want to go too tight. This is only 89 inch-pounds on this, so I just want to get it snugged up, and then I have the torque wrench ready. And right there. And right there. And that's locked into place. Okay, so we're doing good. Alright, now I want to make a final check. Everything looks pretty good. So at this point, what we do is I'm going to grab a pair of pliers. Ooh, we're getting some thunder out there. Raining in Pennsylvania. I'm shocked. Alright, so then all we do is, and this is spring loaded, so hold the tension up here and pop that out, and that takes up the tension in the timing chain. And at this point, it should be set, but we're missing one element, and that is our guides. So I like to have the chain like this, where you can see there's still a little bit of play in it. I can just move it a little bit. And we're going to take our long guide, goes on this side. You just kind of pull the chain back out of the way a little bit. Pretty simple. It should just drop right in. Just like that. Got to make sure these guides have a little bit of a lip on them on each side to help guide the chain, and you got to make sure that chain stays off that lip in the back, so it should be centered in on the guide here. All right, and we have the medium length one. Put it in, and sometimes you have to pry on this just a little bit with a screwdriver, just a little bit. Just nudge it just a little bit. And there is something I forgot to do, and that is look on the timing chain. And it's printed USA on this side. Now, whenever you put those on, there is a front and back to the chain. I'm not sure why. I don't really care. That doesn't matter. I want to make sure that I put it on correctly. So I have the printing on the outside. Sometimes you'll see a chain, one link will be painted maybe white or yellow, and those are the ones that are going the outside. All right. Yeah. Slide that down in. Try not to stick my head in front of the camera. Just pry that all the way. There it goes. And this is a good example of the chain catching on the lip on this, but it doesn't quite want to go in. There it goes. It snaps into place. And this one here, this is going to be tight, but it'll fit. Turn that around. Place that like that, and just press in like that, and then we're good to go. All right, now at this point, I'm going to pull the locking pins out, and this is the part where it's the moment of truth. We're going to see if the motor is actually still in time. So we're going to rotate it in the normal direction of rotation twice. The reason why we do it twice is because the cams turn at half the speed of the crankshaft. So if this is turning 5,000 RPMs, that's turning 2,500. So we go around once, that'll be half the distance, around twice, and it should come back and line these up. Okay. Now as I turn this, I'm feeling, if I feel any resistance at all, I'm going to stop, because that could be the piston coming up and hitting the valve. It could be out of time. That's one rotation, and you can see this hole where we put the bolt in. That's halfway around. I'm going to go again, all the way around. And let's line the two marks up, and let's check our bolts. Might be just a little bit I have it perfect. There's one, and there's two. Check my mark down here, and my timing marks are lined up, so I know that the motor's in time. Don't forget to pull those out. Now, before we're done here, I actually want to put those back in. I'm going to leave these in here. It's going to help keep it locked in time. And then that one there. There it goes. Just had to nudge it a little bit. And we want to take these bolts out. The center bolt and the cam. Pull that out, and we want to put some Loctite on these, and then we're going to put them back in. The reason why I wait till the end here to torque these down is if I and it doesn't take much of this stuff, just a wee bit is all it needs. I mean, just a very, very small amount. The reason why I don't want to put the bolt in and torque it down without holding it is because as I torque this bolt down, all the pressures from the torque wrench is going to be on this bolt. Whenever I have both of them locked into place, the pressure spread out between these two bolts as I torque this one, and spread out between these two as I torque that one. And that's why I absolutely want to make just be absolutely positive that that doesn't slip. And you can imagine trying to pry on a torque wrench 52 foot-pounds, and then it slips, and then it would rotate so fast. I doubt whether you could stop yourself before the vellus made contact with the piston and probably bend something, and then you get to do all that work all over again, and we don't want that. All right. So we already got the torque wrench set. 52. And you can see that it's stressing a little bit. There we go. There we go. That's what we're looking for. And that is it. And because we pulled on that a little bit, we can back that up just a wee bit. These bolts will pop out. We're good to go. We're ready for the timing chain cover at this point. But there's a couple things we want to do first. So make sure you tune in for the next episode, because next episode we're going to finish up the bottom end where, before we put the oil pan on, there's something that we need to take care of down there. We'll show you that in the next episode. Like and subscribe.